Hey folks, welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. Hope everyone's doing well. All right, so we got a 1 through 10 presentation here. It's a variety of things, and I did a little traveling recently, so actually one of these captures is from Ohio, the Dayton area near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe it's number 4, but I'll point it out to you as we're going along. But before we get going, I want to play this little excerpt from a recent interview that Chris Cuomo did with Jake Barber and James Fowler of Skywatcher. Take a listen to what James Fowler has to say here.
One key thing to note here, Chris, is these observations occur in broad daylight in the middle of U.S. air traffic. So some of the videos we've released, we purposefully put air traffic in the background so people can understand this isn't happening where there's no airplanes or no commercial aviation anywhere. So this is happening in broad daylight right next to national, international air corridors, sometimes in them. So we've observed from being at altitude with these UAPs that we cannot see them from the air. And so it's our belief that these things are commonly around commercial aviation. In fact, we have photos and videos of UAPs in proximity to commercial aviation from our first sighting in 21. And that continues.
Sound familiar? To me it did. When I heard it, I was like, oh, he's talking about the things we feature on this channel. Interesting. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. But all right, so here we go, 1 through 10, and then we'll do a quick recap. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll talk to you throughout the video. All right, here we go. Number 1. So yeah, this thing comes and zips down through. It does an S shape. An S pattern starts here to dark, and then it comes down to the left, and then zigzags back, and then cuts around. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's what I see. This is footage of an air show, and here it is in real speed. This is the dot pause, and now we're going to do it in real speed and get progressively closer. And you can see it. It just comes out of nowhere, zips around, and then goes back into nowhere. And it's funny because it reminded me of this footage from Israel. You can see the similarity. They both have this zigzagged S pattern. You know, the one in Israel people refer to as a jinn because it's a regional thing, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities here between those two captures. So, you know, I don't know what to make of it, but it's definitely fascinating, and it doesn't present like anything prosaic, not to me, at least. And it literally just disappears. It goes out of nowhere. I mean, I don't say disappears lightly. It literally is there, and then it goes away and it's gone. And I looked for it throughout the video and couldn't find it. So yeah, so that's that. I mean, it's just poof. Why it should be there, but anyway. Number 2. Yeah, and this is a capture of mine. And you'll see this thing go right in front of the airplane, and this is the type of thing that James Fowler was talking about, in my opinion. And then this thing comes over, and obviously this is slowed so you can see it, but you see this thing go right in front of the nose of the airplane, and then over here on the top left, the thing just comes down. And you know, I don't know what either of them are, but this is them in real speed. It's tough to call, but you know, it whatever it is, it's there, and it's on camera, and it's not new. This is the same type of stuff I show you guys all the time, whether it's my own footage or stuff I see online and just point out to you. But you know, I don't know what this thing is. It seems to curve down to the left at the end. But all right, here's number 3. Yeah, and this is actually the same airplane later in the same 1-minute footage, and this thing shoots through, and it's only in like a frame or two, but my eye caught it, and so I'm pointing it out. And it's interesting because this is one of those things that I tend to call amoebas just because that's what they look like. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's up here and it's dark and it's faint, and it just shoots across the top, and by the time it gets over here you can actually see it a little. But you know, that top left quadrant right there is the only place you really see it in real speed if you watch the screen. Look at this. I mean, that's where your eye picks it up, but it's actually throughout the screen. It's just not the same color for some reason. I mean, that's also something that we see consistently is this change of shape and change of color. But the speeds, are very dynamic. I mean, that's just crazy fast. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's other stuff going on in this video too. I'm just pointing out the two things that I saw. Okay, so here's number 4. This is out near Wright-Patterson in the Dayton, Ohio area. And like I said, I did some traveling. And interestingly, this thing is not going up. The camera's going down. And you'll see once we pan back what I'm referring to. But it looks like the thing is going up. But what's interesting is there's actually two things here. And there's one that's also on the left side there. And you can't see it there, but you can see it much better there. And yeah, and then this is where it is. See that kind of double-decker cloud? That's like the marker for it. And so there's that cloud panned back a little bit, and you can get a sense of where those two things are. And then pan back even further, there's that same double-decker cloud. And those two things are just, they're flashing in and out, but they're not really moving. They're hovering. It's the camera that's, dropping down and making it look like those things are going up in the air. But in reality, when you scroll through this footage in detail, like I did to find these things, you realize, they're kind of blinking in and out, but they're not moving. They're just hovering in space near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So what are you going to do? I found it interesting, and I caught it while I was traveling. So this is one I saw online, and this wobbling, tumbling business it's a motion we see a lot. And because this is like a rocket coming back down or a booster, I understand people say, oh, that's just debris. And maybe it is. But, usually debris slows and there's an arc to it. This seems to be moving somewhere like with pace and intention. And again, like I said, this sort of tumbling motion is a motion we see all the time. It's not traditional in the sense of wing flapping, but it's some sort of propulsion-based movement, it seems. Yeah, and so, like a lot of these things, I saw footage online, something caught my eye, so I screen recorded it, slowed it down, and confirmed what I thought I saw. So, yeah, it's a crazy little one, and it's fast, but again, it's not arcing, it's going somewhere, it seems. And it has that traditional tumble. And then we have this next one here is actually from the same video. And it's interesting because if you want to call the last one, debris, then you say, well, what about this? How come this one isn't tumbling? This is moving differently. And again, there's no arc. It seems like it's going somewhere. And there it seems to split. And then it comes back into one. But, this thing is hopping through the screen. And again, there's no arc to it like you see with debris. This is something that is just cutting through at a ridiculously fast pace. And it's white, so, what's that about? I don't know. But I saw it, so I wanted to include it, particularly since I was already featuring that tumbling one. So yeah, it's two different presentations, two different types of things coming out of the same footage, which is interesting. All right, so let's move on to number 7 here. This is something that I actually showed you guys before, and this is like a composite of all the movements with this, and it reminds me of Pong. And here it is here, and you'll see it. And it, there's a helicopter below. So this is happening above a helicopter, and it's moving like the game of Pong. And, for those folks who aren't old enough for it, this is what I'm referring to. Yeah, this was Pong from the late 70s, early 80s, and imagine this was considered fun, but whatever. That's how this thing is moving. It's like bouncing off of walls that you can't see. I mean, it just does not, it seems to be at odds with all of our understanding of, physics and flight and all kinds of things. So I wanted to share this with you guys again because it's just so dynamic to me. There's things like bouncing off invisible walls above a helicopter. And this ties into the last one, number 10 too, in terms of the helicopter, but we'll get to that. So yeah, very interesting to me. I love this one. So I wanted to share it with you again. It's really difficult to explain. And we don't know how the thing's moving either, so there's that. All right, so with number 8 here, this is footage from the ISS, all right? And so I was watching that, and I saw something. And there's a little split, which we see all the time. I wanted to point out, and it's that little split's only in one frame. But again, this is footage from the ISS, right? And this thing is changing trajectory. And I try to demonstrate that shortly, and you'll see what I mean. But this isn't, to me, space debris or space trash, because that doesn't change trajectory. This thing curls up. And so there's the Earth over there. And then the camera's still, and you can see down here, this thing just pops up, and then it, goes from like 7 to 2, but it curls up. And it's pulsating too, if you look at it. It's literally pulsating, which, space junk isn't supposed to do. But when I say it curls up and it changes trajectory, look at this. I put a line here so you can see what I'm seeing. It's parallel to this line until it isn't. And so the last 85% of this, it changes direction. And if it didn't, it would go along this line the entire time. But obviously it doesn't. So, with a fixed camera, it shouldn't change trajectory. All right, here's another one, and I'm including this number 9 because it goes right by this airplane, and it comes back over here, you can see. But it's literally at cockpit level. And it's also interesting because it goes partially behind there, and then it definitely goes behind the tail. And I know a lot of people think these are little insects in front of the camera. So when I see something that's very obviously on the other side of a plane like this or an aircraft, I figure it's worth highlighting. And there's other stuff going on in this footage too, but I'm just focused on that. Yeah, I mean, there's no question that this thing is up there sharing space with this pilot and going really fast. And who knows what it is, but I think it's very fascinating that we see these things constantly. And this is good evidence that this thing is up there, and the plane is in between the camera and whatever that is. All right, so look, this is number 10, all right? And it's number 10 for a reason. I love it. To me, it's mind-blowing footage. It's not my footage. I found it online. But check this out. And I mentioned earlier in association with the one that looked like Pong, I said there's something with number 10 about going on above a helicopter. This is that footage. And I mean, it's hard to get footage this good, in my opinion. You don't see this all the time is what I'm saying. So check this out and, get in the comments. With all of these, get in the comments. But definitely, I want to know what you guys think about number 10 here. No sign of propulsion that's obvious. We don't know how it's controlling itself or maneuvering. But this thing is above this helicopter, and the helicopter moves and this thing moves. It follows the helicopter above it and isn't getting sucked in by the rotors. There's no impact at all, it seems. This thing is operating as if the helicopter is not there. Nothing in the physical realm is impacting this thing at all, it seems. This thing is just hovering and hanging out with the helicopter until it decides it's done, and then it leaves. And Jack from Cosmic Road recently was talking about these Dragon UFOs and how they buzz planes, and he said maybe sometimes they hang out with them. Well, yeah, I think they do. I think he's right. This is the quintessential example. I mean, I don't know if it's reconnaissance or what is going on here, but this thing is above this helicopter and behaving in a way that seems to suggest that our natural laws don't apply to it in terms of the physical realm, because anything up there would be getting sucked down, I think, into the rotors. But this obviously isn't. And it's also tracking the helicopter. It's following it, which, like I said, you don't see footage like this very often. And then it has this weird little flashy blinky business when it leaves. So there's that too. Let's do a quick little recap and then we'll get out of here. All right, so this is that first one. And it does this S pattern and it comes out of nowhere and then goes back to nowhere. And it reminds me of the Israeli footage. And then we have number 2 here is the one I capture where the thing goes right in front of the nose of the plane. And then on the left side, it comes down. And then we have this other one that's only in a few frames there. And then number 4 is the Wright-Patt footage. And this thing's just in space out there, blinking away. And then we've got this rocket thing that's, wobbling away, and then we have this other second rocket one that just seems to jet right through, and it's a different color. And then we have the Pong situation that I sort of demonstrated with this thing just bouncing off of invisible walls there at number 7. And then we have number 8, which is the ISS footage, and I put the line there to show that this thing is changing trajectory. And then number 9 there, we have more air show footage with the thing seemingly going right by the pilot's face. And then we round down with number 10 here with this thing tracking a helicopter, but unaffected by it. So there you go. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this one. I tried to get through it. Like I said, there's 10 things. They're all pretty quick. And like I said at the outset, it's not a coincidence that James Fowler is talking about these things tracking and being in the same airspace as commercial and private and military first responder craft. These things, and daylight as well as at night. These things are just a part of our world. And you know, the more people that see them, more people that start talking about them, putting out videos about them, I think the more normalized the conversation will be. At least hopefully, that's my hope there. So anyway, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it. Get in the comments. I look forward to hearing what you all have to say, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks.